All right, we have a craft talk. I forgot I had a job.
Yeah, she is.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll find it.
I have North Story Wines in Wrangletown Cider. I grew up here. My family moved here when I was 3 years old from Southern California. I worked in the wine industry for 15 years in Napa and Sonoma, but it took a while to get there. It took a long time to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I was a music major a million years ago, a voice major, and then I worked in banking. Sorry, AJ. But it wasn't me. Then I moved closer in the Northeast Bay to Napa, and I started taking classes at night at Napa Valley College. And UC Davis, their remote program, to learn how to ferment things and make things. And so I worked in that for 15 years. I worked in Napa and Sonoma, and I worked 2 harvests in New Zealand, which was amazing. And then I moved back in 2014. And I started Wrangletown Cider Company and North Story Wines. And so here's the initial. I worked for some big corporate wineries, and I worked for some really amazing small makers. The last 8 years at the bottom there, I worked for a consultant who was just incredible. Byron Kasuge, if you ever can find his wines and anybody he consults for, he was an incredible man. And when I left him, he said, "You're not just an employee, you were one of my friends." Sorry, that guy. So, he taught me to never be dogmatic about my approach to making wine, where a lot of people are. It's like the same thing every time. It's a recipe, bum, bum, bum. It's you meet the harvest, you meet the grapes, you meet the material as it is presented to you each year, and you address accordingly. I was lucky to work with him in a place that's called a custom crush. That's where people who don't have a brick and mortar winery will come together and produce wine. And a lot of these are some of the best producers of wine you'll ever find. They don't have enough money to have this gorgeous estate, which doesn't mean it's great wine. It means that you're going to make something really brilliant. And so that's where I was able to have a lot of conversations with different makers who were at the best of their game in terms of making what they do. It was a variety of clones, location and farming, location. I mostly work with Pinot Noir. So that is location. That is cooler climate and a different approach to winemaking. Pinot Noir is such brilliant. So. My beginnings, I grew up in Freshwater. Here's a little snippet of this, this dates me. There's Garfield School on the left. That's the school that they took down with it. It took a wrecking ball because they said it wasn't seismically able to withstand an earthquake, but it was interesting to see how much it took to take that thing down. And that was May Day in the early 70s. And there's some snippets of Freshwater now. And that's the time standard on the right that was being delivered on a horse in our neighborhood. And I still live in that house. I moved back, and I moved back into the house I grew up in on Howard Heights Road in Freshwater. And Tom's been across the street with our friends Marceau and Nicole. Wrangletown Cider. So I moved back because apples are a huge part of the history in this county. Local farms is what I want to represent. Seasonal production. I don't take juice all year. I just get it in the fall. I make something out of what it comes seasonally, where a lot of cider companies in the nation will just year round, because you can get it industrially, they will just bring in trucks of juice. So my things are hyper local. And I represent them as such. So each bottle will have a name, orchard based, just like you would have Pinot Noir. This is from a certain vineyard. So that's what I like to do. Farmhouse style is dry. My ciders are dry with the exception of one thing I make, which is a pomo, which is kind of like an apple port. And so that's what I'm about. My wines. So having a wine background, it's the same license per the TTB and the ABC to make wine and cider. Cider is wine. It's made from fruit. So, and this is my 2019 Bela Vineyard Pinot, which is that what I came about? Got to bottle recently. And so, yeah, that's my wines. I always want to represent that. I did a bunch of things. These are one of my favorite things. Dogs. In 2009, actually beginning, I had a dog that was a problematic behavior issue. And I sought out some people that I got really in touch with who were some of the best behavioral trainers in San Francisco Bay Area, PhDs, veterinary behaviorists. And I got into dog training. So this was like, shoot. And there was a point where we had the fallout after 2008, where the wine industry took a hard hit and I lost my job. And because we were producing really expensive wines, and it was like my boss, who was a massive consultant, it's like, I can't afford to keep you on. So I delved into this. And so I went back to school and I took some classes and I became a dog trainer and also puppy trainer and puppy socialization. This is a passionate interest for me. And it got me into psychology and things and considering other options. But these are some dogs I currently haven't had in the past.
And she helped me with my puppy.
Yeah.
So if you've met
So I was
Zola.
like, okay, you
Yeah.
can get her out, socialize her. And there's a critical window with young dogs. These are the classes I took from a lot of PhDs and veterinary behaviorists. And I traveled for that too. I went to wolf ethology in Minnesota and in San Francisco and worked with a lot of things. So if you have dog questions, hopefully. And yeah, this is me with harvesting apples when I first started down near the creamery. And now I am at the Machine Works next to Salt. And so come find me on the weekends.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm writer.